Hi there, welcome to Tarotland Soap Opera. Today I'm going to do a reading for Libra energy, and like usual on this channel, we're going to do two rows. The top row I'm going to refer to as high vibe Libra energy, the bottom row a more worldly, shadowy Libra energy. We all have to make decisions in our life, and we have our free will nature, and the top row can represent how we could like to live our life, and some decisions we'd like to make in our life, but we could struggle because we'd have to move forward in life differently than we are right now, and we'd have to make that choice. And so some people could be struggling within themselves. Other people, they've already made a decision to either move forward in life differently or to keep living their life the way they've been living it. If you don't have a problem with how you're content with how you're living your life, you're not in debate within yourself. So Libra energy is air sign energy of the mind and represented by the scales of justice of what we think is just and fair. Some people can be very immature, bossy, controlling, abusive, and they think it's just and fair, And some people have learned lessons in life. They treat other people the way they like to be treated. They want to be in authentic, loving relationships. And we just need to listen to our intuition about who's who. And we're looking, all of us tap into Libra energy and what we think is just and fair. And we're kind of looking for people who are on the same page. So it's kind of interesting. In the bottom row, all four cards aren't showing themselves. And the way I view that is that some people who are tipped out of balance, they are manipulated by something other than hope and faith and belief and love and in themselves and in their dreams. And the reason for the bottom row's reading is the Knight of Wands, which can be that people are just kind of immature and they got some lessons to learn in life. And we've all been there. We've all been more immature. And, the truth sets us free to live life differently. But we'll keep repeating a pattern until we've learned the lesson we meant to learn. And until we learn the lessons we were meant to learn from that phase of life, we'll keep living our life that way. And some people are repeating a pattern, and other people that could have been in relationship with them at one point in time, some of those people are moving on because they don't want to repeat that pattern. So the top row, the reason for the top row's reading is the Eight of Cups. The Eight of Cups walks away from the Seven of Cups. And the Seven of Cups can be maybe that we were more caught up in the illusion of the world. We were kind of more immature. There's all these things we want to go indulge in our life, and we think will make us happy, and we think that's the answer to our problems. And if that's drugs or alcohol or getting in a relationship or having a certain status or image or whatever. And then some people kind of go chase after those things, make their life about those things. And they thought it would maybe be emotionally fulfilling. They could have just been attracted to people, and they didn't realize that some of the people that they went to go get in a relationship with, they were hiding, that they kind of harness this energy in a more shadowy way. And some high vibe people could have harnessed high vibe energy, and we just get in a more mismatched relationship. And we could just come to realize that someone isn't who we thought they were. Anybody can present themselves any way they want to. I view the King of Swords, or Libra, as the King of Swords energy. And the kings can represent how we present ourselves in the world. And anyone can present themselves like, I'm a just and fair person. I'm stable and grounded, male or female. You should hire me for a job. You should be my friend. You should date me. You should marry me. And then we think we could, if you're someone who's motivated and inspired by love, you think everybody's motivated and inspired by love. But we have this lesson to learn, and Sagittarius energy is about higher learning and education, that not everybody is motivated and inspired by love. And some people aren't who they say they are, and they are more immature or wear a false mask or are defensive or are more self-indulgent. And, you know, um, the Seven of Cups that the Eight of Cups is walking away from, high vibe people in high vibe Scorpio of the Seven of Cups, they want to be in more deep, meaningful relationships. But again, not everyone does. And some people create the illusion that they do, but they're really kind of like to keep their more emotional nature that isn't kind of what they align with in their free will. They might like to live more from their mind than their heart, might like to make their life more about ego and image or indulging in a relationship. So it's just to create the illusion that they want a deep, meaningful relationship. But shadowy Sagittarius is, I just want to indulge in a relationship. And then we kind of see through the illusion of who we thought people were. And then we work through the emotional confusion of it, because the Seven of Cups that people are walking away from, it is, we are these emotionally complex people, and we can have all these mixed feelings about people, and it can be hard to sort through it all. And so some high vibe people could have been in relationships with some people they thought a dream was going to come into reality, because the 8 and the 9 and the 10 of Cups is Pisces energy, which is about our dreams and our hopes. And we kind of realize, I don't know, what drives and motivates us, what we think is just and fair in relationships. Some people are more immature. That, kind of our idea of the dream relationship and what we find emotionally fulfilling is different. So, high vibe people live their life at a phase of life, and they somehow through it, they got inspired to offer themselves a cup of love. I don't want to maybe keep indulging someone or myself in more immature energy, codependent energy, uh, something, and I'm going to offer myself that cup of love. And they're going to the 9 of Cups, which is to be more emotionally independent. So as we learn to grow and heal and mature ourselves and love ourselves, we kind of detach from some old ways of living life that were maybe a little more, they were just and fair and appropriate at that stage of life, because that was the stage of life we were at. That's how we viewed life. It was our emotional maturity level. And then, we don't find it maybe as emotionally fulfilling, and we could find it after a while that it kind of seems immature or more emotionally shallow and superficial. And maybe the only reason I'd keep repeating that way of living life is out of my fear of believing in myself, loving myself, believing in my dreams. And I could be tempted to keep repeating it just because I like to stay in my comfort zone. But if we kind of listen to our intuition, or the reason we could start to feel that we're not as, it doesn't seem as fulfilling as it once did, is we've offered, like, in high vibe energy, you offer truth and love and encouragement to other people, to let's all keep moving forward. Let's keep facing our fears. Let's keep, believing in ourself and believing in our dreams and believing in love. And the other people kind of kept wanting to repeat an old pattern, and you kind of see that your dream isn't going to come into reality in that workplace, in that friendship, in that romantic relationship. And people offer themselves that cup of love that I don't want to keep repeating this pattern. If they want to keep repeating it, they can, but I don't want to. And let's go look at the top row. The King of Cups, the Knight of Swords, the Ten of Wands, and the Judgment card. We could have been trying to offer love to someone who is defensive to love. And again, the Ten of Wands is Sagittarius energy, just like the Knight of Wands. The high vibe people are trying to offer love and encouragement to themselves and others to keep moving forward. Hold yourself accountable for your actions. Get out of your defensive energy. The nines and the tens can talk about it's kind of time to wrap up a cycle. We have lived our life like this, or, just like we did age 15 to 18 to 21 to 25. You live life at a certain phase of life, and, your intuition is just telling you kind of that it feels overwhelming, is what the Ten of Wands can be, to keep doing the same thing over and over, because part of going with the flow of life is that periodically you look at your life and you kind of see what things should go and what things should stay and how you want to move forward, because you have a dream, and one person can really put in a lot of work and effort to try to bring a dream into reality. The other person's like, no, 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 I don't want to do that. And again, there's some people who want to wear a false mask, and they might want to move forward with people, but they don't want to close out a cycle. So you could harness your Cancer energy different. One person is kind of motivated and inspired by love and healing and growing and freeing themselves from things that manipulate them. And the other person could have presented themselves as being motivated and inspired by love and high vibe energies about being more independent, but they're defensive to being more independent or closing out an old cycle. Because when you quit, kind of detach from an old phase of life, you kind of look at some of those things that you need to let go of. You drop the burden. And then you drop the Ten of Wands and you come out with the Ace of Wands to go have a new beginning. And again, you could take the good building blocks you've learned and lessons you've learned in your life that work together with others cooperatively in a just and fair and loving way. And the other ones you kind of leave behind because you've already found out they're not conducive to that, right? But some people are like, I want to maybe move forward with you, but I don't want to let go of anything. I want to hold on to all my old ways of being. I don't want to close out a cycle. Well, then we're kind of mismatched, right? And if one person isn't willing to kind of be more inspired to listen to their intuition and love to guide them, they could be people, again, who live more from their mind than their heart, but they want to be in a relationship with people, but trying to move forward with people who are more creative and inspired by love, when that's not really the truth of who you are, it gets to be really overwhelming because it's just not your truth, right? And eventually, in those more mismatched relationships, both people could want to get out of the relationship because their truth is different. In the King of Swords, this is my truth. This is how I want to live my life. And if we're not living our authentic life and we're trying to live our life in a way that we think other people want us to live our life, well, that's going to be overwhelming. And are we listening to our intuition, or are we moving forward with certain people for the wrong reason? Is it because we're afraid of being judged if we were to quit moving forward in our life in a certain way? And everybody can tell us in our life, oh no, if you do this, you'll be happy. Well, it might make some people happy to live their life a certain way, but our truth could be that, you might want to move forward and go this way. I might want to move forward and go that way, or go this way. Everybody can be just and fair and loving people, but what I like to spend my time enjoying and doing, and what you like to spend your time enjoying and doing, and what kind of motivates and inspires me in certain kind of that makes me feel just aligned with my truth. not everybody who doesn't want to move forward with us the way we want to move forward is a shadowy person, but because we've all had people that we have wanted to be friends with or date. We've had people who want to be friends with us and date us. Could they be perfectly lovely people? Yeah, but they're just not the right person for us. Or you might think you kind of want to hang out more, but I really don't see it. I don't. I don't think we really click. But sometimes, we can get in relationships with people. We can be attracted to people. There can be a lot of things that we enjoy together. But then there can come a time in a relationship where it could feel like one person feels like they're putting in more of the work and effort to move the relationship forward. And they could kind of feel like the other person is kind of indulging themselves in the relationship. It's like, well, why aren't you putting in the same work and effort that I'm putting into it to move this forward? And I'm feeling overwhelmed that I'm the only one who seems to be putting in this effort to maybe be loving or inspiring or maintain a sense of balance in the relationship or a more loving energy in the relationship. And then sometimes with some people we do kind of look at them like, I kind of think you're wearing a false mask. I don't think it is really love. I think you're kind of indulging in this relationship and you might want to keep moving forward with me, but I don't think it's love that really motivates you. Or, again, that I think someone is hiding, that they're just kind of indulging themselves in the relationship, maybe because they don't want to get out of it, because then maybe their sense of feeling balanced within themselves kind of, they get more tipped out of balance. Some people don't want to kind of be a player, and they could be afraid if they don't get in a relationship, and even if that relationship isn't their truth, they don't want to, they're afraid maybe that they would maybe act out maybe in more immature ways, or and then maybe they wouldn't have a certain image or status, because Libra energy also can be like our public politician persona. We want people to view us a certain way, and if we're not in a relationship, or and then we've got a you know just, I don't want people to view me as like an immature player. So I don't know why people would be so worried about it. Just live your authentic life and tell people why that relationship didn't work out. But some people, they can get all caught up in all these things. So then it's like, I am like bound and determined to try to make this relationship work, even though I find it overwhelming. And sometimes some people are doing it just to try to prove a point to someone else in their life. Which wouldn't be a high vibe person. That would be someone who's shadowy, who's trying to present themselves as high vibe. And they're just trying to prove a point to someone else by moving forward in another relationship. Like, look, I got someone else to move forward with me in a relationship. See, you could have been defensive to me because you thought I was immature, but I found these people who are willing to move forward with me in a relationship. You know, that's not a good reason to be in a relationship, right? Because you're trying to prove a point to someone else or something. Some people are even moving forward in a relationship because they want someone else, hoping it would overwhelm the other person. Like, look, I called judgment on you. I'm not going to move forward with you. I'm going to move forward with these people. Well, again, that would be a shadowy person. But shadowy people can try to present themselves as high vibrational. And they could be hoping if they do that, it will hurt some people in their life. And they're hoping that then those people will go take some immature action. Because then by default, if those people kind of run their life off into the ditch, is kind of without these people healing and growing and maturing themselves, judgment seems to go in their favor, that they can be deemed the more stable, grounded, emotionally mature person. But the truth is, they did these hurtful, unkind things. They're not being just and fair. They're not acting with character and integrity. They really are being immature, but they're hiding that. And they're trying to move forward in life and present themselves in a way that really isn't their truth. And the people who do that, there will be consequences to pay for that choice. And odds are what will happen is it will become so overwhelming for them to kind of wear this false mask and try to manipulate other people while they're trying to hurt or manipulate other people, that eventually the people in their life too are like, it seems like I get the impression that you're not in this relationship because you are independent of the past. It seems like you're still pretty mad at some people in your past. It seems like, I don't know, maybe you're trying to rush and push this relationship. Why are you pushing this relationship so hard? What is it that you're like trying to prove? And then some of the people in their life might kind of distance themselves from them because, you can't, other people listen to their intuition. And it's like, on one hand, you say you want to move forward within this, but then you keep maybe kind of, if someone's wearing a false mask and like a King of Swords and a King of Cups energy, they're not really fully investing themselves in the relationship and making that decision in the judgment card to move forward and bring a dream into reality. And they could maybe kind of seem like they're kind of going back and forth, and then some people in their life might not like it, and some people might call judgment on them. Okay, so that's kind of the shadowy people in the top row. Some people who dealt with some people like that, you know, um, during the whole process of trying to move a relationship forward with people who are like that, eventually some people drop the burden. I'm not going to keep putting in work and effort to move this relationship forward when you don't seem to want to put in work and effort to really more authentically emotionally invest in it, and might seem to be defensive, might seem to be taking some immature action in the relationship, and I find it all overwhelming. And there comes a point in time when people say, I'm done. I'm dropping the burden. I'm no longer going to keep putting work and effort into this or defending this. And I've kind of wrapped my brain around it, with Sagittarius being about higher learning and education. I had to work through my own defensiveness to walking away from this, because there's a part of me that wants it to work, but I have to deal with the truth. And the truth is, if other people wanted to work cooperatively with me to bring this dream into reality, they would have. And if there's someone who likes to wear a false mask and they aren't really kind of more motivated and inspired to be more authentic and loving in a relationship, well, I do want to be in relationships with people who are inspired to be loving and who listen more to their intuition and hope and faith and belief in their dreams than their fear and their insecurity that keeps telling them, you shouldn't do this, you could get hurt doing this. And it's all those things that manipulate them that stop them from moving forward in that way. And it's like, you know what? Until you work through that, I wish you peace. But I'm moving on. And I have decided to become independent of you. And then some of those people might feel overwhelmed that other people are kind of calling judgment on them, because the whole thing is we've all got lessons to learn. We all can have things that overwhelm us. We can all have fear and insecurities. We can all have self-limiting beliefs. We can all be more codependent. We can all be caught up in our defensiveness, our ego, our more worldly or materialistic or whatever nature. Some more so than others. And other people are more inspired to not let those things manipulate them. But they could see the truth that it really does manipulate some other people. And it's like, if how we want to move forward and what our idea of the dream life is, and you think it's still you maybe being kind of immature or wearing a false mask or being defensive or whatever it is, or don't want to be independent from someone or your ego or your fear or the world or other people in your life, then go live your life like that. Go enjoy those people or whoever, your friends or your family or whoever it can be. But I want things to change. And if you are not willing to move forward with me and you're not ready to change, then high vibe people from a place of love, offer love to the situation to try to maintain Libra energy, just to stay at a place of peace and balance within yourself, to offer that to other people. You go live your life, go do what you want to do. Your truth is different than my truth, the way you want to move forward, what you think is just and fair, what I think is just and fair, what motivates and inspires you, what motivates and inspires me, your idea of the dream life, my idea of the dream life, they're different. And I have come to a place of peace and acceptance of it. And I don't want to keep moving forward in it, because I do feel like it's indulging immature behavior in myself or other people. And I don't want to keep doing that. So I am inspired out of love for myself to stand up for myself. And even though it can seem really overwhelming, I am going to stand up for my truth and what I believe in. And if your truth is different, then go live your life the way you want to live it. So sometimes we do get in more mismatched relationships where someone is kind of got some lessons learned about being just and fair, or willing to be in a more deep, meaningful relationship or be more authentic. And I think what those people do is hide that some high vibe people in their life left their life, but they don't want people to know that the people who left their life were high vibe, because people would wonder, why didn't you go with them? I found it overwhelming because either, it's kind of like taking a job that you're not qualified for. If you're not more balanced within yourself or more emotionally mature or confident within yourself, and you go get a job that you give the impression you can do that job, but really, you've kind of worn a false mask and you're really kind of more immature than you represent yourself as being, well, it's going to feel really overwhelming being in that relationship. You might really like it. You might like a lot of the perks and benefits. Just that's the reason why some people want to indulge themselves in relationships with loving people. But it's kind of challenging for them because they really are more immature, and their natural instinct is, when things come up, their natural instinct is more, because they haven't learned to temper themselves, their ego, their fears, they haven't learned how to maintain balance within themselves, and they can get tipped out of balance, and then they can operate more from defensiveness and ego and immaturity and manipulation and fear and insecurity, because they just don't have the life experience for a more emotionally mature relationship. And then sometimes people can, shadowy energy can be that we're in our ego, and that can be competitive energy. And if someone likes to view themselves as this just and fair and loving family person, but they're really kind of more about themselves a little bit, well, if someone comes in their life who kind of, just by the fact that they are maybe a more emotionally balanced, just and fair, tempered, loving person, it kind of illuminates the fact that they could have some growing up to do, and then they get in their ego about it and they get defensive about it. And then if those people don't want to keep being in the relationship with them, then they can be mad, and then they could go get in a new relationship just to kind of try to prove a point, and could get in a relationship that they never should have gotten into to begin with because they got into it for the wrong reasons. Or because they are very unstable within themselves. That can be codependent energy where I'm, instead of being someone who maybe looks to drugs or booze or food or whatever to make themselves feel better, it's to get in relationships to make themselves feel better. Like, I'm sure that will be the answer. So then they go get in a relationship to feel better. But none of those things are really the answer. All the things that overwhelm them, they just keep carrying them with them. And they keep affecting them in the next job, the next friendship, the next relationship. And eventually it all kind of culminates, and then they could take some kind of immature action, defensive action, manipulative action, prideful action, competitive, egoic, and the cycle happens all over again. And some people are unwilling to see the truth. It's like, oh, well, they must not have been the right person. I'll just go find someone else. But the truth is what sets us free to really go live our life differently. And I have to be willing to deal with the truth. Where do I need to heal and grow and mature myself? What about the people I get in relationship with? Where do they need to heal and grow and mature myself? I can only change me. Am I willing to offer love to my own defensiveness, to moving forward in life and facing my fears and stepping out of my comfort zone? Am I willing to call judgment on other people in my life who I think might try to entice me to indulge in my more shadowy nature, because then I'll align with them and hang out with them or be their friend or get in a relationship with them? Am I willing to see what it is that kind of drew me and attracted me to aligning with a certain way of living life or viewing life or people if I didn't find it? Because if I don't want to repeat it, I need to wrap my brain around it. And sometimes it was because we were just kind of indulging our more immature nature. I need to stop that. And next time I think that, I need to offer love to myself. But I'm overwhelmed. Let's go do this to feel better. No. That isn't the answer. We've already done that before, maybe many times, and it didn't work out the way we wanted. So let's not keep doing that. Let's offer love to our more defensive nature that feels overwhelmed, and offer ourselves love to figure out why we feel overwhelmed. What are some of the burdens I carry that I could work through so I can let them go? Is it fear? Is it insecurity, pain, heartbreak, self-limiting beliefs, ego, codependency? Can I please work through those things so that I can let some of them go? Because once you offer love and compassion and forgiveness to yourself for being a fallible human being and offer it to other people in your life, you can let go of a lot of things and just accept the truth. Just like I was more immature, and for all the reasons I took action in my life at different times in my life, so did other people. And some people never got more balanced. Some people never got to be more just and fair and loving. Some people always wore a false mask. Some people were always immature. Some people were always defensive. That's their like burden to bear. But I don't have to keep carrying it. I don't have to take it as a personal reflection of me that people are unjust or unfair or unkind or defensive. Can we see that some people are just like that? I can only take accountability for my part that I played. And if I kind of acted immature, okay, next time I'm in a job, a friendship, relationship, I'm not going to act more immature. I'm going to work through some of my fears and insecurities so I don't do that next time. I'm willing to learn lessons in life. But you have to be willing to get out of your ego to be willing to learn lessons. And some people really have a hard time getting out of their ego to admit that there's anything they need to change. It is everyone else's fault. It's never their fault. Even if they're bossy and controlling and needy and immature and self-indulgent. Oh, it's not them. Libra energy is also represented by the Two of Swords, the Three of Swords, and the Four of Swords. The Two of Swords is we can be in two minds about things. The Three of Swords is we can decide, I have an idea. I'm going to go take this kind of immature action. And we think that's a good idea. That's going to be the answer to making us feel better and getting justice. And we can keep repeating it over and over and over, and some people are. No, 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 I don't want to see the truth. Other people are in two minds about things. They repeated some patterns, and eventually they're like, wait a minute, that never worked. So, I know. I am going to see the truth. I'm going to quit chasing after people. I'm going to quit taking more immature action. I'm going to quit being defensive. I'm going to work through my defensive nature, whatever, to become more independent of those things and love myself and believe in myself and maybe have a little hope and faith and belief in other people. And I've learned to maybe listen to my intuition, and that when people do show me they're bossy or controlling or out of balance or whatever, I'm going to wish them peace and I'm going to keep my distance from them. Where before it could have been, oh my gosh, I'm going to save you. Look, I'm moving forward like this. Look, I'm going to come save you and I'm going to drag you with me. I'm going to make you change. I was like, no more. I'm not going to try to change anybody anymore. When they show me they have certain traits and characteristics that I know I don't care for, can I work with you? Can I know you? Can I visit with you out and about or at work? Yeah. Do I want to spend more time with you? No. Am I going to try to change you? No. Because trying to change someone, if they wanted to be a different type of person, they would be a different type of person. If they're defensive, if they wear a false mask, if they're immature, yeah, that could take years or decades for them to even think about wanting to change. And if they have someone indulging them in a relationship, they have less incentive to change. Why change if I have someone indulging me in my poor behavior, right? So high vibe people offered love because that's the truth and that's what they realized. I need to offer love to the situation so I can get out of my defensiveness and move on and let people live their life the way they want to live it. If I have found that I don't find it emotionally fulfilling to be in a relationship with them, then I move away. In our ego, we wanted those things to work, and we want the things that we kind of invested in to work out the way we want, but we're dealing with other human beings that got their free will and got their issues. And if it's not working out in our ego, we can keep kind of trying to change people and chasing after them. Some of them will be happy that we do. Some of them are being defensive and not walking away from you and not working with you because they're trying to manipulate you to do the relationship the way they want. And that's kind of the difference, is that you're not trying to manipulate someone. You're offering people truth and love. And some people are like, nope, I'm not doing that. It's like, okay. And they're like, I might do these other things. I don't think you'll keep loving and believing in yourself. I know you wanted this dream to come into reality. I know you love me. Well, then that's someone who's trying to use the love that you have for them to manipulate you. And they're not working together with you. They're keeping their distance from you, hoping that you will feel so overwhelmed that you'll give up your dream and you'll come back and settle for the illusion. The fake, superficial, false mask, defensive, overwhelming, immature relationship you were in. And some people are like, I have done that before, and it just kept being what it was. Rarely do people change. If they, if they want to change, they can change. At some future point in time they want to come communicate with me, fine. We'll see where we're all at in our life at that future point in time. But for now, I'm leaving. And you can live your life the way you want it. And odds are, if they're kind of immature, and they weren't willing to tell the truth before, and weren't cooperatively before, they can be in their pride and ego, and odds are they'll repeat this pattern. And you kind of move forward in life differently because you don't want to repeat that pattern. So if you looked at life as like these different levels of a video game where you have to overcome all the obstacles on a certain level of the game of life, just like you did at age 15 to become more like an 18-year-old and a 21-year-old and a 25-year-old, there's some people that they got to go back and repeat that level of life because they didn't learn the lessons they were meant to learn. And the other people get to move forward in life and go to the next level of life. So I think shadowy people are going to hide, that the people in their life who harness these energies and high vibe energy, those people left. And they're trying to hide from the people that they're getting currently in friendships and relationships or workplaces with. They're wearing their false mask again, trying to present themselves as this just and fair and loving family person. And they're hiding that they actually harness these energies in a more shadowy way. What are they? The World in reverse, the Hangman in reverse, the Magician in reverse, and the Three of Wands in reverse. Well, let's kind of talk about it in the upright first, and that'll be easier. So, there probably was people in their life that wanted them. The World can talk about learning lessons. The Hangman can be about looking at life from a different perspective, expanding your perception of yourself and others and how you view the world, and maybe trying to see things from other people's perspectives. And the Magician is kind of believing in yourself, and being inspired to change. And they had people in their life like that, but because they were unwilling to learn lessons and look at life differently, and maybe believe in themselves or be willing to see the truth that it isn't just about them and it isn't about trying to manipulate people. If you're going to be in a more romantic relationship with people, it should be from love. But they have inner conflict about that truth because they could think maybe they look like they have justice in the world. Maybe they look victorious and successful or have status or image or attractiveness or social clout, or they're just full of themselves. But, they could feel like, I look like I have justice in the world and I present myself as this loving family person and I have this certain image and status in the world. People should want to be in a relationship with me. I don't have to look at life any differently. I have inner conflict about that idea or that truth, because then I'd have to hold myself accountable and I can't be more immature and wear my false mask. I'd really have to close out that way of living life, and I'd have to become independent of it. And I'd really have to be someone who's inspired to be authentic and loving with people. And that all takes time, to be more authentically yourself and feel more comfortable within yourself. And because of that, the high vibe people in their life that had been in their life working with them, trying to encourage them to love and believe in themselves, eventually those people were done and they left. Because they saw they harness these energies differently. You're either motivated and inspired to learn lessons in life, to be more independent, to grow up kind of and mature yourself. And some people are like, no, I have no interest in doing that. That is not how I view life. And shadowy hangman can be that people are very stubborn and prideful, and they will do things just to try to prove a point. And then that's kind of what drives and motivates them in the decisions they make in their life. Well, who wants to be the person that's in a relationship with someone who's only in a relationship with them because they want to try to prove a point to someone else? I know I wouldn't. And eventually some of the people that are in a relationship with might kind of start to realize, I almost feel like it's more like you're trying to prove a point to people. I don't know if you even want to be in a relationship with me, Their truth, the magician is both Gemini and Virgo energy. Their truth is not, I want to look at these things that I kind of carry around with me, that I drag with me, but I don't ever want to look at those things and bring them out into the light of day to deal with them. So they keep dragging them around. And they could be people that either have a lot of inner conflict, or they're very competitive, or they're very, manipulative and immature. And that can be some people's way that they've operated all their life. And to think of not doing life like that, this would be a lot of things they need to work through for some. Some people didn't move forward in a more just and fair and balanced relationship because they wanted to go get in a relationship maybe with someone who had ended a relationship with them, but if they are more aligned with their worldly view of life, being in a relationship with people who want them to grow and heal and mature themselves, that's really not their thing. They want to be in a relationship with other people who kind of live life the way they live it. I want to make my life about these things. I want to go indulge in these things. And they could have went to go get in a relationship with someone else who they thought viewed life just like they do. But, when we're making decisions that are kind of more out of fear, insecurity, or lust, or greed, or pride, or ego, it kind of clouds our judgment, and we're not really seeing things clearly. And there could have been someone at one point in time in their life was kind of more on the same page as them, but while they were both kind of living their lives, and being in different friendships and relationships, the other person could have grown up some. And then they were defensive to them because I do think, I don't know, you want me to be, I'm not the same person I was, and I've moved on, and I'm, not like that, and I kind of think that's the energy you want me to be in. And when you kind of came into my life, I thought you had grown up and matured yourself too, but then I find out you haven't, and then I'm kind of thinking the reason you might have gotten out of that other relationship is because you really are still more immature, maybe like you were back in the day. A different storyline could be that people are in relationships with people. They could be a loving person. They got in a relationship with someone or a workplace, friendship, fit the scenario to what could be in your life. And they had the best of intentions. But again, if it's a more mismatched relationship, the other person could be a little more defensive, but they want the relationship to move forward. Someone has been, it's kind of like I made a commitment. I'm going to put work and effort to try to move this forward, even though this person could be maybe a little defensive or a little more bossy or controlling than I like, but they still, in a lot of ways could have their good qualities. But again, in every trait and characteristic that we harness, in this example, the Knight of Swords is kind of from the King and Queen of Swords. So the King of Swords is Libra energy, and the Queen of Swords is Aquarius, about our dreams. Are we, again, a lot of people in the world are moving forward in high vibe energy, but they're kind of moving forward in different levels of emotional maturity. We can still be motivated and inspired by love, but we can still be a little more defensive, a little bit more immature, a little more bossy, a little more controlling, but we're still motivated by love. And that can be that thing where this just really isn't my truth. And while someone has been moving forward in something and it's starting to feel maybe more and more overwhelming because they know the time is coming where they've really got to make that decision. What is my truth? Am I going to keep moving forward this? Is this aligned with my truth? Do I find this emotionally fulfilling? In a lot of ways I could, but again, you kind of just got to listen to your own intuition. And some people have been doing the shadow work, is what the bottom row can represent. And some people could be wondering, maybe I got in this relationship because I can be loving too, but maybe I'd kind of given up a little bit on my dreams, and maybe I didn't really believe in myself, and maybe I was trying to avoid some inner conflict I had, and maybe I thought this was the mature thing to do, and maybe I thought it would help me, and it could have helped, but anyway, some people are just trying to figure out what their truth is, and if they've kind of felt like this isn't their truth, but they've been unwilling to illuminate the truth, have been defensive to speaking their truth, because until we decide, we know if we maybe say something, some other people might walk away if we were to say we're not sure, right? And so then we kind of do this work within ourselves to try to figure out, is this my truth? And why would I stay in it? And do I think they're loving and encouraging? Or do I think they're a little more pushy? Or is what they want to move forward with what I want to move forward with? So let's go see what's coming up for some people who harness some high vibe Libra energy that don't want to make decisions out of defensiveness or immaturity or lust or greed. And that can be overwhelming for some people because there could be someone in their life who really tempts them, and they'd really kind of like to be in a relationship with that person. Maybe they don't want something to be over. Maybe they have been kind of acting from their ego. Maybe they have been manipulated by their ego. I mean, we're just fallible human beings. You can try to be a just and fair and loving person, and we could all have gotten in relationships and move forward in a relationship and been committed to it and putting in work and effort into it, and then, just as time goes by, is this, I've really got to think through this. It's one thing to to take a job, get in a relationship, get in a friendship. It's another thing to keep, if you're going to keep investing in it, right? And so some people could have really been trying to not not really worried maybe about being judged as being immature. And they really don't like people viewing them as immature, so they've really been trying to do the right thing. But you can try to do the right thing in the wrong relationship or the wrong job. Same way you can be a just and fair person. You don't want to look like you job hop. But if you got in a job and there's things about it that you do like, but there's also things about it you don't like, we're kind of looking for that right mix and balance. It shouldn't be overwhelming. It shouldn't be where one person puts all the work or one person is more indulged. It's supposed to be just and fair. And you're supposed to treat other people the way you like to be treated. And it is supposed to be because of love and not something else, right? So what's coming up for people who harness some high vibe Libra energy that they might not see coming? Okay, we had a card flip here. The Page of Wands. Why? Because of the Empress and the King of Cups. Well, again, the Empress is Libra and Taurus energy, but in high vibe, the Empress is about the feminine figures represent how we think and feel, and the Empress energy is about love. I, again, am going to offer love to the situation. And the King of Cups, I view as Cancer energy. I am going to offer love to the situation and to myself. That with the Empress being Libra and Taurus energy, I have to love myself and put in the work and effort to maintain balance within myself so I don't tip out of balance and indulge myself or other people in poor behavior, to stand up for what I believe in. And it's kind of like, it's reminding me of like being a good mother, father to yourself and to your own hopeful, believing inner child nature. I'm going to offer love to the situation and myself. I am going to speak my truth. I'm going to tell the people in my life that I am moving forward in relationships where people treat me the way I treat them, in a just and fair and authentic and loving way. If you are on that page, then you can come with, because then we can both kind of let our inner child, authentic, hopeful, believing nature out to play, because we're both doing that instead of one person doing that and the other person's like, well, no, I'm still operating from my ego, my defensive nature. And, you just don't feel like you can trust them with your authentic nature because they're not being authentic. And I want people who aren't trying to manipulate my loving nature for some selfish kind of reason. And if you want to move forward with me in that way, come with. And there'll be some people that do, and there'll be some people that are like, see ya, I'm going to go back and do this, and I'm going to go find someone else to go get in a relationship with. Some people don't want to be more just and fair. Some people don't want their more hopeful, believing nature to come out to play ever. Some people are more about wanting to be indulged. They're immature. They wear a false mask. And you're saying goodbye to those type of people, and those type of people are saying goodbye to you. And then as you move forward in life, there's always going to be more kind of immature, shadowy people that want to be the next person to indulge in a relationship with you. And you just need to stand up for what you believe in, get to know people, and figure out who's who, and keep your distance from the ones who you intuit are more immature and indulgent or ego focused, and the ones who you think are more on the same page as you, you're going to move forward with. What's coming up for the people who harness a more worldly, shadowy energy that they don't see coming? So I think what you don't see coming is you are going, when you quit investing your time, energy, and effort in being up in your head about people in your life who weren't more just and fair and authentic and loving, it opens you up to meet new people. And I think that, you're going to meet new people, and some of them are going to be on the same page as you. And with those are the people you can have your dream come into reality with. The Page of Wands can be any of the fire sign energies that people are more aligned with, because you're more inspired by love and being more authentic. And that can be Aries and Leo and Sagittarius. They don't have to be those zodiac sun signs, but they harness these energies kind of the same way that you do. And the people who harness them in a more opposite view of you, they won't be going with you. What's coming up for the more worldly, shadowy people in their Libra energy that they might not see coming? The Seven of Wands, the Seven of Cups, and the reason is because of the Queen of Cups. So the shadowy people, both the Seven of Cups and the Queen of Cups, is Scorpio energy. But, if someone is a King of Cups, they really do take action in the world, male or female. They are authentically who they say they are. They are a loving, nurturing person. Well, they're looking for someone who is a counterpart, who emotionally is also inspired by love and deep, meaningful relationships. High vibe, Scorpio. But some of the people in their life harness these energies in a shadowy way, and they're defensive to deep, meaningful relationships because they love operating more from their defensive, egoic nature and more about creating an illusion of love in a relationship. And because some of those people keep doing that, there's going to be high vibe people in their life that want to be in a relationship with them. They're trying to bring a dream into reality. The difference between the Seven of Wands and the One Wand is the Six of Wands. I'm trying to move something forward victoriously and successfully, inspired by love. And that in both of our Three of Wands, we come together to make the Six of Wands because we have the same dream. But the other people are like defensive to that. So it's kind of like, I can't bring a dream into reality because we have to be on the same page. And you apparently keep defending wanting to do it differently, right? And it really is just a difference between, and some people are like, there's other people in my life that live life the way I live it. I'm going to go align with those people, whether my friends or my family or whoever they are, because and it kind of makes people have to make a decision in the judgment card. When one person makes a decision, the other people have to make their decision. Some people will move forward with people that are offering them love and encouragement, and some people aren't ready for that. They still got some lessons to learn. They have some lessons to learn. They have not looked at life from a different perspective. They're still kind of manipulated by their ego and their fear and their worldly nature. And living life a certain way that they don't want to become independent of. And that's fine. Everybody can live their life the way they want it. We all know all sorts of people where some of us would be like, oh my gosh, I would never live my life like that. Or, oh my gosh, I don't see how those people keep functioning in the world or whatever. They have no interest to change. And that's fine. Different strokes for different folks. We all get a look at all the different people in the world, and either they're a bad example or they're a good example, and like, hey, you do you, man. However you want to do it. Knock your socks off. Whatever illusion people are caught up in that they love and are inspired by, and they should live their truth. We certainly don't want people pretending they're something they're not. Hey, I appreciate your being authentic. Would I want to live my life like that? No, but you go, you do you. All different strokes for different folks. And some people are still looking for someone to love them like a parent would love them, where they don't have to learn to love themselves, and they don't know how, and that's why it's so overwhelming, and they keep looking outside of themselves for someone to play that role in their life, thinking that's the answer. But people have already provided a loving and encouraging environment for people. But for some people, it's like an addiction. Enough is not enough. I need more attention. I need it more about me. I love my more immature nature. I am defensive of seeing through the illusion of myself. And I want to find someone else who buys into the illusion of who I am and is willing to play that role in my life, because I think that's just and fair. And if they can find someone who's willing to indulge them in their more egoic or whatever weird ways they have of viewing life and relationships, so long as that person is on the same page, then that is a just and fair relationship. They're on the same page. Are you full of yourself and defensive? Oh, I love being in relationships with people for that reason. Do you present yourself, though, in this certain way in the world? Perfect. And they might be someone who's kind of immature and defensive to deep, meaningful relationships, too. And they're a perfect match. And they might be more shadowy. Scorpio can be more superficial and shallow. Look what a wonderful, happy, loving life we have. But totally lack self-awareness, could be very competitive and egoically based. But if that's how they view life, man, they're maybe having a blast. So there you go, Libra. I wish you peace, love, and joy, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.